we're gonna go ahead and get started. A few things kind of before we jump into today's agenda. So last week you turned in, and I didn't get to go over this yesterday because we had our guest speaker, which we'll follow up with in a minute. Last week you turned in a few things. That assignment, will my job be done by machines? Um, most of you got that in. If you turned it in yesterday or late, I have not graded that yet. I will put these grades in PowerSchool maybe today, maybe not until next week. Sometimes I don't like to just put one or two things in there because then it kind of shows this misrepresentation if you're only missing one thing or if you have them all. Also, those resume videos, there were a lot of people that had zeros, meaning you didn't watch any of them. I know a couple people reached out. So when I put that grade in for you on those resume videos, if there was something that happened and it didn't save or something, reach out to me and we can try to figure it out because I want you to get credit when credit is due. And then your vision boards, the people that turned them in early, I did grade those already. My goal now is to maybe grade like 5 a day. Because I actually am reading through all of them. I don't want to sit down and read them all and then kind of forget all the ones I read, which I've already started to do. So I want to try to space them out a little bit more. So I'm just letting you know why that grade might not be done right away. Your resume is not due yet. It is due this Friday. Because on Thursday, we are going to talk about it a little bit more when we go over that part in our book. So let's see. What are your guys' kind of initial thoughts on that guest speaker yesterday? You can say them out loud or in the chat. Did you like him? Did you think it was worth an hour of your time? Was it a waste of your time? Did you like what he had to say? Did you find it interesting, but you disagree? What are your thoughts on that guest speaker? Okay. So most people seem like they did enjoy it. And if you didn't enjoy it, feel free to tell me that too. It is something, again, I've never had him before, so I didn't make that part of the vision board, and maybe I should have done that. I know Mrs. Maselli does that in the middle of her vision board. She has their students write their true purpose for money. So again, I hadn't done it before. So when he went through it, I was going through it with you guys. I was writing down my goals. So I came up with my true purpose for money is security. That was my statement kind of at the end of it. And that destructive circle of wealth, I know I am very guilty of it. Kind of remember, if you go through like what you want, you get it, then you're happy, but then you're still comparing and it's not good enough and you kind of just keep going through it. I'm that way, kind of not so bad with phones anymore. I used to be. Sometimes with fashion, my house, we bought our house, I think a little over 3 years ago. We sold a house, bought this one, and I'm already like, I want a bigger house. We don't have enough space. It's always something. Cars, the older I get, I feel like this destructive circle of wealth becomes more expensive products. So I really did enjoy the perspective. It was very general and broad, kind of gives you an overview. And again, that's what he does for a living is people pay him to be a financial coach. So it was nice of him to come donate part of his time. And when I was talking to him, some people have negative perspectives about having a financial coach. And he was giving the example, you know, look at all these pro athletes. They have coaches. It's not, you don't have a coach. If you're good at something, it doesn't mean you don't need a coach. So, Michael Phelps has a swimming coach. Steph Curry has different coaches for different aspects of the game. So it made sense. But at the same time, again, that's his job is to kind of sell his product as a financial coach. But I did like what he had to say, and it made me think in a different way that I don't always think. So I have 3 finance classes. He was only able to do 2 presentations yesterday. The other one's not until next week. I'm not sure kind of how I want to follow up with this. I do want to make sure you guys write down what your true purpose for money is. Remember, it was just that one word you decided at the end, what one value word you came up with. I don't know if I will make that kind of your weekly check-in. I'm not sure if we'll incorporate it into some other assignment. I don't know what I want to do with it. If you have some ideas, I'm open to them. But again, that was new to me. So I'm still kind of thinking. And if you want to go back and add that to your vision board should always be a work in progress. And if you unsubmit it and add that and then resubmit it, just write that in the comments. Like, I unsubmitted it to change this or add this based on the presentation, and I won't mark it late. So just something else. Okay, with that being said, we can go ahead and move on to today's assignment. So we are doing notes from the book, or I'll do a slideshow, but you should have your book. If you were unable to get your book, I did post in Google Classroom PDFs for this chapter. I don't plan on doing this every chapter. So here is section 1 we're doing today, and then here are the homework questions, section 2, homework questions, section 3, homework questions. So hopefully you will be able to get your book this week, or you won't need it again until possibly 2 weeks, depending on how much. So we're not doing chapter 2 next week. So you should have a little bit more time. So here's our agenda. So I just kind of want to point out today, when we take our notes, you can either handwrite them or you can type them in a Google Doc. I don't care. What I do care about is at the end of the week, when you turn it in, you are turning in one file only. So you can see this week it's pretty straightforward. We're just doing notes and discussions the rest of the week. So 1-1, then so our notes, then homework questions. 1-2, homework questions. 1-3, notes, homework questions. So for your classwork for this week, this is kind of, it says submit only one file. It can be a doc, it can be slides, whatever works better for you. It can be a PDF with it listed in this order. So it needs to be your notes from today, then your questions from today, your notes from tomorrow, questions from tomorrow. And some people might write their notes but type their questions, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. You can just take a picture of your handwritten stuff and submit it into a doc or a slide or whatever is easier. Or you can use the notes app on your phone and scan it and make it a PDF if you choose to handwrite. But if you're going to know you want to type your notes, tomorrow you're going to open the same doc. You're not going to start a new doc, just one for the whole week. And if you halfway through, you're like, I am handwriting these, but I really wish I typed them, you can switch it up. You're not committing to something. Maybe you want to try different things and see what way you like better. So wherever you're taking notes, get out your paper, open a Google Doc, whatever you're going to be doing, that's what you should have out and opened while I'm getting your slideshow ready. Okay, so and just a couple things. If you are typing your notes, you are not copying, pasting directly from this slideshow. You need to make your notes your own. There's going to be some things I'm going to say not to write down. If you're just copying and pasting the whole thing with no effort, not making them your own at all, you will not be getting credit for that. So here we go. Chapter 1, how your choices affect income. You might want to title what chapter 1 is. Today we are only doing 1-1, so you don't need to write down these other topics. So section 1 is personal skills and the job market. So again, chapter 1 is how your choices affect income. And this first section is personal skills and the job market. I'll try to give you guys time to write everything down. If I go too fast, you can ask me to go back, or I can do it at the end of the period. Also, you have the PowerPoint posted in Google Classroom to where you can kind of go back when you need to. So this still says section 1 title. If you need to copy that down, I do recommend the title being copied down. You do not need to copy down these learning objectives. So our learning objectives today, though, we're going to discuss the job market, how it changes over time, and what you can do to prepare yourself. And then we're going to also describe how your education may affect the amount of money you earn. Okay. Also don't need to write these guiding questions down. It's just things you should have in your mind to kind of guide where we're going. So the first one is, how do your choices affect your income? So what choices you make affect how much money you bring in. And then how does your income affect your choices? Does how much money you make a difference into the choices you make? Does that matter? Is your education and training related to how much money you can make? And what does the future of jobs look like? All right, so what is the job market? This is kind of where our notes are starting. You maybe have a title so far. So what is the job market? The job market is the job openings that are available when you are ready to go to work. You don't need to write down that question in blue. It's kind of just a discussion question. So job market, the job openings that are available when you are ready to go to work. But what do you think the job market looks like today? Do you have any idea? So I'm asking, you can say it out loud or type it in your chat. What do you think the job market looks like today? All right, so a few people are saying not good because of the pandemic, COVID. So yeah, definitely that has changed. A lot of openings, a lot of places are closed currently, or open minimally, which means they don't need as many people. But then different careers are increasing depending on their need, which agreed. So kind of the shift in time. Some people mentioned automation. So some things have kind of become outdated. So it's just changed. But today I agree. with the pandemic, it's kind of changed a lot. If we'd asked this question a year ago, before COVID shut everything down, we were in a lot different of a place. Just something to think about. Obviously, a pandemic hopefully is the only one we'll go through in our lifetimes. We never know. I don't think anyone would have predicted this. But hopefully when it kind of dies down, hopefully the job market will open back up a little bit. And then here we go. Your skill set is the skills and abilities that you bring to the job market. So the skills and abilities you bring to the job market, your hard skills are measurable physical and mental abilities that allow you to complete a job. So things you can actually measure: creating a spreadsheet, installing a faucet, how fast can you type? Can you put this together? Can you do certain things? So measurable physical and mental abilities. Your soft skills are non-technical skills that are needed by most workers for success on the job. So leadership, teamwork, time management, communication skills, you can't really measure those things. You can say if somebody's doing well or better than somebody else, but you can't necessarily measure somebody's leadership skills or their teamwork or their time management. You can say if they're doing them well or not. Soft skills are sometimes thought of to be more important than hard skills, because hard skills you can learn. You can teach somebody how to create a spreadsheet. You can't teach somebody leadership. You can show them and model it, but it's not something you just teach somebody. So soft skills are those non-technical skills needed for most workers for success on the job. All right, so do not copy this down word for word. You can just kind of actually just write words and then like the percentage. So what is it about your communication that tells the listener the most? So if I'm listening to you, what matters the most? The words you're saying, the tone of your voice, or your body language? So this is if we're having an in-person conversation and I'm listening to you. What percent do you think your words matter versus your tone of voice versus your body language? And they're going to add up to 100. What's your guess? You don't need to write down your guess. You can, or just think it in your head. I'm curious, what percent do you think is your words? What percent do you think is your tone of voice? And what percent do you think is your body language? So I'm going to change the slide in just a second because it's going to kind of give the answer. All right. So a few people are kind of telling me what they think. Words, tone of voice, and body language. So this is from your book, and I question it a little bit. I haven't questioned it enough to go look it up. But they say that 55% is your body language. And a couple people did say that they thought body language was the highest thing in the chat. So 55% is body language, where 38% is your tone of voice, and only 7% is the actual words you're saying. So something to think about. And I mean, when I first thought of it, I'm like, but if you think about it, if somebody's yelling, I don't know, for example, I'm sorry, and you're in an argument and they yell, I'm sorry, their tone of voice probably doesn't communicate that they're really sorry. And that outweighs the words that are being spoken. Just another thing to kind of think about. So your words account for so little, but when you're sending an email or a text to your friend, it's only words. Sure, if it's a text to your friend, you can use emojis. But if you're sending a professional email, maybe it's for a job application, following up, or something like that, you're not going to use emojis. You're not going to use sarcasm. Your words need to be kind of make sure they're what you're trying to say. All right, you do not need to write this down. This is a little outdated, but this is the picture from your book. So it was the fastest growing occupations that they were predicting from 2012 to 2022. We're at the tail end of this. It will be interesting to kind of see how much these did grow over these years. So they were expecting industrial psychologists, home health aides, interpreters and translators, genetic counselors, skincare specialists. That one surprised me. Physicians assistants, information security analysts. So that's how the percentage they expected it to grow. And then over on the right just shows you the education required for those. So it's helpful to know if you want to do a job, what kind of education you're going to need. Do not need to write this down. It's just kind of informative. So career choices can affect your income. So we're going to talk about career options. I haven't decided how much. These are great websites and resources for you. They are all links, so you can open the slideshow and use them. Some of you said you know what you want to do. Some people have no idea, and some people have an idea, kind of a few different ideas. So I'm not sure how much we're going to go into careers. I will post probably a survey later this week that asks kind of what you want to spend our time on and how much we do want to go into careers and looking at different things around them. But great websites. California Career Zone is where we will start when we do get into them a little bit more. All right, a job description. So at the top is a definition. It describes what a job would be like, including the tasks performed and skills needed. This is an example of a job description for a physician assistant. So it says what they do. They practice medicine on a team under the supervision of physicians and surgeons, formally educated to examine patients, diagnose injuries and illness, and provide treatment. Then it goes on to list their duties. They give treatment, order and interpret tests, educate and counsel patients, prescribe medicine, record a patient's progress. They work in all areas of medicine. Their schedule can be physically and emotionally demanding. They're on their feet a lot. They have to often work weekends, nights, or early morning hours. So that's just the description. All right, so your values and goals will affect your career choice. So it was great that he kind of talked about both of those things yesterday. We will write goals later on in the year. Your value is a principle that reflects the worth you place on an idea or action. So yesterday we wrote our goals and you kind of added your value words to them. And a goal, the definition for your book, is a desired outcome based on one's values for which a plan of action is developed and carried out. So your desired outcome, and then you have a plan of action to develop it and carry it out to reach that goal based on your values. All right, don't need to copy this down either. So it says optimally you will find a career which is your ikigai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a Japanese concept meaning a reason for being. So you have these four main circles. The yellow, what you love, the pink, what the world needs, blue, what you can be paid for, and green, what you are good at. So what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. So essentially you have all of these ideas hopefully on your vision board. And when you kind of bring them together, you can see you're going to hopefully find a profession, vocation, mission, and passion. And then all together, it would be ideal if they can all overlap. Not everyone is going to be paid for their passion. Hopefully you're good at what you're doing, and hopefully you do love it. Hopefully it's something the world needs, right? That's the idea. You want all of those things to kind of overlap. All right, so how does education and training affect your income? So that's kind of the second part of section 1 is the education and training. So there's on-the-job training and apprenticeships, which are learning as you do the work. So you're paid for those. Sometimes you're on-the-job training and apprenticeships, you might not be paid the same. You might have this introduction wage, and then it can be bumped up. Apprenticeship, so on-the-job training might be a shorter time. Apprenticeships, I know sometimes can be even a year or two long to learn the skills of whatever trade it is. Self-training and computer-based learning is learning new skills from reading and practicing on your own. So maybe not for your job, possibly depending on what you're applying for, they may or may not take if you learn something on your own. But we know with YouTube and everything else, you can get online and look up how to do a lot of things. Depending on what your career goals are, that may or may not be an option for you. And then formal education is learning and earning a college degree. So taking some sort of college classes would be formal education. I believe these next few slides are going to be pictures, graphs that you don't need to write down. Some of them are a little old. I probably should have updated them. One I did look for and couldn't find something, so I kept it and lost motivation on the others. But this one here, there we go. So education pays. So typically speaking, and this is not every case, but typically speaking, unemployment rates go down as you get higher education, and earnings go up as you get higher education. So the more education you get, typically speaking, the unemployment rate goes down and you make more money. So you can see kind of that bottom. If you have less than a high school diploma, this was from 2015. There were 9% unemployment rate, and they were only making $488 a week. And that was median. So remember, median is not the mean, it's the middle value. It's not the average. So if you put them all in a row, it's the middle. High school diploma, some college. That's terrible. It says collage, not college. Associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, professional degree, doctoral degree. So you can kind of see the income goes up based on the amount of schooling, and unemployment rate typically goes down. Does that mean you have to, go get these degrees to make money? No. Some of you might be able to be quite successful without getting any kind of degree, maybe just some training. But again, this is typically speaking. This is from an old book. That's why the picture is not great. The book we used to use, but basically the same idea, the learning effect. The more education you attain, the higher your lifetime earnings. So this is saying lifetime earnings, not, the last one was weekly, but this is in your life. So it says a high school dropout is only going to make about $1.2 million in their life. High school graduates, almost 1.8 million, and you can see how much it goes up. So professional degree on kind of that average, this one is average, a professional degree earns almost 4 times as much as a high school dropout in their whole life. And then who decides wage rate? So again, this is median middle values. So you can see down at the bottom of this graph is occupation groups. So management, computer and mathematical, legal, healthcare. So if you, and this is annual salaries, so for a year. So just kind of think if there's something you know you're interested in, where it is on the bottom, what group it kind of falls into, and you can see the median annual salaries for that occupation group. And this is national, so not California. California does tend to be on the higher end for most everything, which we'll talk about a little bit more next chapter when we talk about taxes and such. I think that's next chapter. Again, just kind of puts it into perspective. And that is our last slide for today. So before you go though, I do want to kind of go over your homework. So you wrote your notes. You either wrote them or so your notes, you either hand wrote them or you took a picture of them. So now your homework is 1 through 19. So I'll open it here just so you can see. 1 through 8 are matching. You do not need to type the definition. You do not need to type the word. Same thing if you're writing them. You could just say 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C, 4 is D, whatever. Obviously, you're going to match them and not put them in that order. And then for questions 9 through 19, they should be in complete sentences. So why does the job market change over time? The job market changes over time because, you know, the economy changes, technology is changing, whatever you're thinking. So most of these, you can find the answers straight from the book. Some of them you might know on your own. But again, wherever you did your notes, right underneath it is where this classwork is going to go for your homework assignment. Do we have any questions?